I'll reserve a static IPv4 address. Now, there might be times when you need a public IP address that's globally routable on the internet that is unchanging or static. Now, you might do that if you have a service where you want to be able to connect to it, maybe even by name that resolves to the IP, but you want the IP to remain as it is, not change. So that's where reserving a static IP address becomes useful. And we can do it for both IPv4 as well as for IPv6. We're going to do it for IPv4 in this demonstration. So here in the Google Cloud Platform console on the left under Networking, I'm going to hover over VPC Network. In the pop-up menu that appears, I'll then choose External IP Addresses. Any existing external IP addresses that I've reserved already will be listed. We don't have any, so instead, I'm going to click the Reserve Static Address button. And we'll have to fill in a few things, such as a name. It says lowercase, no spaces. I'm going to call this pub-IP1. And it's going to be for IPv4. Now here, I could set the type to regional or global. Now, we're not using global forwarding rules with site-to-site VPN connections or anything like that, so I'm going to leave it on regional, and I'm going to select the region. In this case, I'm going to choose US-East 1 for the region. Now, I can determine what cloud resource that this static IP address is assigned to or attached to. Currently, it says none, but if I open the drop-down list, I could assign it to my instance. However, I'm going to leave it as it is for now because I might assign it to a different instance I'll create after. Now, we have a note down below that says static IP addresses not attached to an instance or a load balancer are billed at an hourly rate. So you don't want to set this up too far ahead of time. You want to set it up when you know you're going to need it and then attach it. So at this point, I'm going to click Reserve. After a moment, it will have created my public IP, and it's a static IP address. We can see here it's an external IP, and there it's listed. Now, at this point in time, notice that I could select that, and I have the option of releasing the static address. In other words, deleting this configuration so that I'm no longer charged for it. I could also, under the type column, switch it from static, its current type, to ephemeral, which means it's a dynamic IP. But in this case, we want it to be a static IP address. Now, if I go view my virtual machine instances in Google Cloud, here I've got one called Instance 1. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. When we go into that VM instance details and edit its settings, we can then assign it that static or reserved IPv4 address. So here in my VM instance details, I'll click the edit link up at the top. Then down below, I need to navigate down to